I'm gonna start by saying that skateboarding is easier than inline skating. Hola YouTube, my name is Ricardo Lino and I'm a wheel addict. I will explain you why I say this throughout this video. Do not stress yet. What I will want to is for you to add up in the comments, because what I'm gonna start doing from now on is to tell you what I think, where I believe there are the main differences between skateboarding and inline skating. And if it's the first time that you are on this channel, well, I am a Portuguese inline skater with 44 years old, 44 now, who has been skating since I was 2.5 years old. I've been inline skating my whole life. About 2 weeks ago, 10 days ago, I bought a skateboard for the first time. And yes, I've been around skateboarders my whole life. I had a skateboard when I was a young kid, but in my adult age, I just never had my own skateboard. I used people's skateboards, people around me or anything like that. So what I'm about to show you was what I was able to do with 4 days of skateboarding. I bought a skateboard. This is it. I don't even know how to put the board down. That's where we are right now. I know how to skate, I think. So nice. Woo, so good. Yeah, that's what I was able to do. Now, I do know that I have some foot control, grind control, whatever. I'm so used to be around people that skateboards all the time that somehow in my head, I think I can do it, or I think I know how the things are done. So I was able to do some of these things. Now, going for what I believe there are the main differences between skateboarding and inline skating. So first one, a skateboard is cheaper. It's more affordable than, in general, a pair of inline skates. Of course, I'm talking about like something that has more quality. If you go for the highest quality skateboard, you will never pay as much as you pay for the highest quality inline skate. So for this skateboard, I ended up paying around, I think it was like 160 or something like that. And with 160, I'll get the cheaper pair of aggressive inline skates there is, or even if I'm looking for a pair of urban skates, something to cruise around the city, I'm gonna get something at the bottom of the scale. With the skateboard, yes, I know that I can get something more expensive, but in general, skateboarding is easier to buy the main thing. Now, in skateboards, what's going to happen is that you are going to break a board more often than you break parts on the skate. Yes, you can burn wheels, so as you can burn wheels on a skateboard. And when you skateboard, you will also need shoes, because if you start doing flip tricks and ollies and all that stuff, you're gonna go through shoes way faster than you'll go through anything on the inline skates. So at the end of the day, I do not know what's the cheapest, but to buy the hardware itself, a skateboard is cheaper. Another one, a skateboard, it's louder. The wheels are harder, the materials are different. Like you have a wooden board, here I got some plastic rails, metal trucks, and then the wheels, they don't even have the spacers between the bearings, which make the wheel be a bit noisier. As you can see here, not everyone uses it like this, and people use the spacers, but we'll get there in a second. But at the end of the day, this is noisier. So if you're gonna be skating in a place with tile, or even like in cobble, you don't want to skate cobble, even if it's now trendy. But anyway, anything that you cannot make a lot of noise with inline skates might be easier because they're not as noisy as this. This is usually really noisy. Another one. So usually on inline skates, you can ride rougher surfaces. And the reason for that is usually the inline skating wheels are softer. I know that some people also use soft skateboarding wheels, but at the end of the day, it's not the same. It's just not the same, because the surface in contact with the floor on a pair of inline skates, it's much slimmer. So at the end of the day, there's much less surface in contact, which means that you're gonna feel all those cracks and all those things less than you would feel on a skateboard. Also, on a skateboard, every little rock, every little thing that is on the floor, it's much easier to trip on, because on a skateboard, usually wheels would be like, I don't know, in between like 3 and 4 or 5 centimeters each wheel, and you will have 2 wheels as the rolling surface. So you'll have something like this as the rolling surface, while on inline skates, maximum you'll have 1 centimeter if they have a flat profile on each wheel, so you'd have 2 centimeters touching the ground. So if there's a little rock, it's much easier for you to trip on a skateboard. Also, inline skates, if you trip with 1 foot, you can always move the other foot and just keep on moving forward. While with a skateboard, if you trip with 1 wheel, a lot of times the skateboard just gets stuck and you fall forwards. So yeah, in terms of that, it's just easier to cruise around with a pair of inline skates than with a skateboard. Now, something completely different. Inline skates don't have any type of turning mechanism. What you have is a frame that it's just like a line. It can have 2 wheels or 4 wheels aligned. There are some frames that have 3 wheels, some frames with 5, some frames even with 6. But they are just one line with wheels, and you'll need to know where your weight is, how to turn your feet, your knees, your hips in order to be able to turn. While on a skateboard, you have these things called the trucks, and by just applying pressure on one side, if I apply pressure on one side of the skateboard, both trucks will do this, meaning that the skate will turn that way. If I apply pressure on the other side, they will do this, and then they will turn the other way. So skateboards have a turning mechanism, while inline skates don't. Okay, another one. Skateboarders have 4 different stances, 4 different ways to do tricks on their skateboard. They can do the regular, when like if you're just like a regular skater, you'll have the left foot in front. If you're a goof, you have the right foot in front. Then you can also skate switch stance, which is if you're a left foot skater in the front, you can go with the right foot, then you're going switch stance. But you can also skate on the nose of the board. So, and if you're using the nose, that would be the nollie, or if you go the opposite way, like the switch way, but you use the nose, then you're doing a fakie. So in skateboarding, there's the regular stance, the switch stance, the fakie, and the nollie. While inline skaters, When we go forward, there's only one way to go forward. Yes, you can have the left foot in front or the right foot in front, but we don't call it anything differently other than going forward. And then when you go fakie, or when you go backwards, you can go your regular stance, which is using the shoulder that it's the easiest for you to look over, or you can go switch fakie if you look over the opposite shoulder, which means that you usually also have the opposite leg leading. So 4 stances on a skateboard versus 3 stances on inline skates. Okay, this is me from the future just editing this video, and I actually just realized that this last one was wrong, because when you go on inline skates you can also have this thing called the side stance, where you point both feet out and you go sideways, and you can do that left or right, or regular stance and switch stance, also on a side stance. So that will mean that there will be 5 different stances on inline skates, while on skateboards there are 4. Back to the video. Another one, inline skaters. When you go on inline skates, usually you have one side to turn. For me, I spin left. If I spin right, then I say that I'm spinning switch. On a skateboard, it's not like that. Going switch means that you take the opposite foot in the front, right? As we just said before. Now, if I turn this way with my shoulder coming from the back to the front, facing my chest to the front, then I'm spinning front side. Or if I turn my back into the way that I'm going, then I'm spinning backside. So it's a completely different way of spinning. There's the front side and the back side on a skateboard, while on inline skates you have spinning left or right, or spinning regular and switch. So that is also completely different. This is a very important one. A skateboard is not attached to your feet, while inline skates are attached to your feet. Meaning that on a skateboard you can just put it on the floor, jump on it, even if you're barefoot you can just go. On inline skates you always need to attach them to your feet, especially inline skates, because there's such a small surface touching the floor. If they're not tight around your foot, you don't have stability on your ankle, and that will give you the worst experience. So yes, skateboards not attached to your feet. They have grip tape on top. Some other skateboards have other different things, like, I don't know, like even rubbers and whatever. But on inline skates you always need to have a lacing mechanism, either if it's laces, buckles, Velcro straps, but you need something to make that skate wrap around your feet. Interesting, this one. If you're going to be doing grinds, there is less grinding possibilities with a skateboard than there is with inline skates. And yes, you do have 2 trucks, one nose, one tail, the middle of the board, and you can mix the trucks with the middle of the board by doing Smiths and Fibbles, and going just with the truck with the nose, doing a 5-0 or a salad or a Suzuki. You can do all these different ones, but you have one piece of hardware that has all these different positions, while on inline skates you have 2 feet, and you have the outside part, which is the sole plate, you have the negative plate, you have the H block, you have the mix of the H block with the plate, it's calling the royal plate. You also have just grinding on the back of your sole, the front of your sole, and then you can start mixing. You can cross your feet, you can grind just in between the front 2 wheels, between the back 2 wheels. So at the end of the day, I don't know exactly how many grind possibilities you have on a pair of inline skates or on a skateboard, but just the possibility of having 2 independent feet that can cross and each one go in a different position makes you have a lot more possibilities for grinding. Easy one, easy to understand this one. Skateboarding, it's not a symmetrical type of activity. So when I'm walking, usually I have left, right, left, right. This is symmetrical. On a skateboard, usually it's the same foot in front. Some people are really good with switch, but I'll say it right away. I don't think anyone will be so good with the left as they are with the right, and they don't do the same amount of movements with the left foot in front as they do with the right, making it an asymmetrical type of activity. While on a pair of inline skates, when you go forward, you push one side, the other. When you turn, you can turn left, you can turn right. So it's a symmetrical type of activity. And that is different. So yeah, here you go. This is the interesting one, because on a pair of inline skates, you cannot land primo. Meaning, when on a skateboard you do a flip trick or something and you land like this, here on the board, this is called landing primo. And landing primo can be quite painful. On a pair of inline skates, that does not happen. You cannot land primo, but you can still twist your ankles. Just so that you are aware, you can still twist your ankles with a pair of inline skates. But then, a skateboard will also allow you to do primo slides, and you won't be able to do primo slides on a pair of inline skates. So that's also another difference. You can primo slide on a skateboard, you cannot primo slide on a pair of inline skates. And let me check some more. There is, in general, in most places, more people practicing skateboarding. Skateboarding is an older sport compared to inline skating. And yes, the first person ever to use a pair of skates, they were inline, but it was still not a sport yet. Ever since it became a sport, I would say in the late 80s, there was already people skateboarding. And yes, both of these sports go through waves. There was a time there was a lot more inline skaters, but we are in 2024, about to turn 2025, and at this exact moment, in most places in the world, there are more skateboarders than there is inline skaters. Another one, skateboarding is an Olympic sport. Inline skating, it's not. And there is a lot of different types of competitions that can be done with inline skates, from speed skating to hockey skating to aggressive skating, freestyle, slalom. There's all these different ones, but none of those is an Olympic
and that
sport.
is different.
While skateboarding,
here you go.
in, I think they call it bowl or park and street, they're both Olympic sports. And one of the last ones that I have for you, a skateboard is lighter than a pair of inline skates. And yeah, maybe if you're gonna grab a pair of speed skates, they're gonna be really close. I don't know exactly how heavy a pair of inline skates, speed skates are. They usually would have a carbon boot with a super lightweight frame, but they still have 3 or 4 big wheels. And then you need to add 2 bearings to each wheel, so that will also add weight. While on skateboards, you got 2 trucks that can be lighter or heavier. Some trucks can be lighter. They have hollow kingpins and hollow axles and all these things to make them lighter. Then you have 4 wheels, meaning 8 bearings, and the board. Some people now use these rails, or some people use these rails, some people don't. Some people use the base for the trucks, some people don't. But at the end of the day, this is just one piece per skateboard. An inline skater will need 1 on each feet. So adding 1 plus 1 skate, it's usually heavier than a skateboard. And one last one. More tricks can be done with a skateboard than can be done with inline skates. I am not saying that it's happening yet, but all the tricks basically that are being done with inline skates, other than the grinds, all the flips, all the jumps, they can actually be done with a skateboard too, like all the flips, triple flips. Some of them may have never been done, but the fact that mid-flip people can do like a skateboarding kickflip, all these other different flips that can be done, like a tray flip or a tray flip to backflip to whatever. There's a lot more possibilities because the skateboard is not attached to the skateboarder's feet, meaning that mid-trick they can add a lot of different things, a lot of different moves to the trick. And that's why I believe there's a lot more tricks with the skateboard than with inline skates. Even if I believe there's more grinds that can be done with inline skates, I still believe there's a lot more tricks that can be done on a skateboard. And now, why do I think that skateboarding is easier? Well, skateboarding is easier because of that I just said. With the skateboard not being attached to your feet, any kid at any moment can just sit on it and start going. You'll see very young kids just put their knees on the skate and the hands in the front and start moving, and they will somehow use the skateboard. It may not be the way that was intended, like on like standing up, but they were able to at least start playing with the skateboard. Even for someone to start using the skateboard just to move a little bit will be easier than with a pair of inline skates. The wheelbase on the skateboard is obviously longer than on a pair of inline skates, right? And especially when you're learning, having this wide base makes you more stable to move, especially if you are like in a super smooth surface. You'll not feel like you'll fall backwards or forwards as easy. With inline skates, you are attaching because you need to lace them to your feet, and then you are attaching them to your feet, and you're attaching wheels under your feet, and it's not like you can just from one moment to the other run out of this. Okay, so the first couple minutes, hours, days, sessions with inline skates, they can be very, very challenging, and most people give up before they even are able to start moving. You'll see very commonly people just standing up on a pair of inline skates or trying to stand up, most of them can't, and start shaking all over the place. While with a skateboard it's different. People open their stance, they put one foot over the bolts in the back, 1 foot over the bolts in the front or close to the nose and tail. Someone give them hands and they are rolling. That part is much easier. Now, when it comes to an higher level or to achieving a level to compete, then I would say by far a skateboard will be the hardest. For you to be able to do some of the tricks that people are doing in competition right now, the fact that the skateboard comes out of your feet and they flip and they get that into the rails and all that stuff, it's different. And that, then I will say it's hard. And not just because of that, but also because there's a lot more probabilities of doing tricks with a skateboard, and a lot of them have not been done yet. So yeah, now that you know what I think the differences between a skateboard and a pair of inline skates are, make sure to subscribe to this channel. I will keep using the inline skates, I'll keep using the skateboard every now and then. I'll be using anything else that I can have fun with wheels. So yeah, make sure to subscribe to this channel and I'll see you on the next one. Cheers and Happy New Year.